Hi everyone, and welcome to part 4 of the Poke and Prod tutorial series. In the last episode, we created the enemy, the ghost, and the line of sight that could explode on impact. Now that we've created the ghost, we'll move on to the health and how to both take and deal damage. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to open the player script. So, player controller, and we don't really need movement functions right now, nor attack functions just yet. But we are going to create some more health variables. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a region called health variables. So what we need is a public float that handles your max HP. I'm going to call it max health. We also need a float for current health. We have to keep these two separate so that we can heal back to full health. And it also allows us to keep it capped by this. This is going to keep track of how much health we currently have. It's going to be helpful for the UI when we get there. Next, we're going to add some stuff to awake on awake. We have to make sure we set current health to max health. And next, we're going to have to make some functions for health. So make a new region, call it health functions. So first one is going to take damage based on a value parameter which will be passed in by the caller. So we'll call this public void take damage. The reason it is public is because the enemy is going to have to call it. There are ways around this, but they are more advanced and not something we're going to be covering in this particular video. If you're interested, feel free to come talk to us, and we can try to steer you in the right direction. Anyway, so this is the value parameter they're going to pass in. And the first thing we need to do is decrement our health. So we're going to do that. Decrement health. Current health minus equal value. Okay, so now we're going to print exactly how much health we have left. Debug.log health is now plus current health. Okay, so this is how you concatenate. You have to make sure that it's a string, so you just call toString. We're gonna change the UI. I'm just gonna leave this here as a reminder. And then we have to check to see if they are dead. And the way we do that, if current health is less than or equal to 0, we're just going to have a designated die. So now, we're also going to have a function for healing. So public void heal. And this is going to do the exact same thing. This heals the player to be based on value parameter, which is also passed in by caller. This is going to be a float value. Okay, and we're going to do a similar thing, so increment health. Set current health plus equals to value. And then, since we're not going to be overcapping on health, like if we have a maximum HP of 5, you can't just have 6 health at any point. So we're just going to set current health equal to mathfmin. This takes in the minimum of whatever values we pass in. Here's the current health and max health. Okay, now we're going to debug to see how much health we have. Another reminder, change UI. Last thing we need to do is make a function that destroys player object and triggers end scene stuff. We're not going to add end scene things yet, because we'll cover that later, but we will handle the other stuff. So private void die. And all we're going to do here is destroy its objects. We'll leave a little comment to trigger anything we need to. And just quickly, it's going to find game manager and lose game. You don't need to worry about this stuff right now. You'll cover that in episodes 9 and 10 in the future. So all we have to do for the game object is destroy, pass in this .game object, just like we did for the other one. So that is it for the player. There is not much we can check right now. Okay, now for the enemy. For the enemy, we're going to do almost the exact same thing. So we're going to create a region for health variables. We're going to have a public float for its max health, and then a float for its current health. Now onto functions. That's a region, health functions. The first one we're going to do is enemy, takes damage based on value param, and it's going to be public void take damage float value. So first thing we're going to do is decrement health. So current health minus equals value. And then we're going to print health. So I still think I have that saved. We're going to leave something, check for death if current health less than or equal to 0. Then we're just going to call a die function that we're just about to write. An enemy can't heal, so we don't need to worry about that. Just go straight into the death function. Destroys enemy object. Oh, and note, this isn't going to spawn an explosion or anything, so we don't have to do nearly as much. What we're going to do is destroy game object. Destroy this .game object. Let's make sure we initialize this at the beginning. So set current health all the way to max health. Let's go back to Unity and set those variables now. So the player, we're going to give them a max health of 5. If you remember, we set the enemy attack damage to 3, so 2 hits should kill them. So enemy, and I have it as a 1 shot to kill the enemy. It's up to you if you want to make it harder on yourself. I don't think there's a way to make it easier on yourself. Max health is 2. Okay, now we have to go into how to deal damage to others, because now we're able to take damage, but we have to be able to apply it to others. So the player controller, we're gonna go to attack routine. This is what hits the enemy. So how do we access the enemy? If you remember before with onsite, we used to get component in parent. That's not gonna work here. However, if we use hit.transform.name, this is how we transform the enemy. So we can actually do this. Get component, and then we need scripts, because that's how we're gonna change, and the script is of an enemy. Gotta make sure you parentheses to call the function. We're gonna call the function take damage, and then we're gonna pass it in a value, and the value is determined by how much damage we're outputting. Next thing we have to do is copy the same style for the enemy. So for the enemy, we're going to tell it to explode, and then we're going to cause damage. So we take damage, we're printing it to make sure we did the damage, and then spawn explosion. And we destroy ourselves. So now we can go back to Unity and check to see if this works. We're gonna move back and forth until it finds us. It's running at us. And let's kill it first. So we started attacking in this direction we cast our hitbox. This is from when we printed the name. So one cool thing you can do is if you double click on any debug, it takes you to the line where it happens. So we debug the log, the name of its transform, then it should have printed tons of damage, and now in the enemy script we can go to its take damage function. Health is now at 0. So now we can do the reverse, so it won't kill the player, but we can change the player's health so that it will. And the player, we're gonna make its max health 1, and let's see what happens. Let it hit me and it should die. So everything happened exactly as we expected. That is the end of this video. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.